Anyways, would you like to get to our first caller?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Fred, you are on with Ethan and Jenna. How's your weekend going?
I'm Fran, F-R-A-N.
Fran. Oh, I'm sorry.
Fran, it heard Fred.
Hi, how are you doing
I
today?
think, how are y'all doing?
We're doing good. Just talking, mental health and politics.
Hanging in there.
Very good. Yeah. And I think what you said about the self-care is really important because my father was a sociopath and narcissistic. He was more charming than Trump is, but it's been kind of hard having to heal from childhood trauma with that type of president and the Republican enablers of him.
I can understand that.
And I think that's something that we need to kind of understand that because of Trump's rhetoric and actions, he's really abusing a lot of people, and I think the whole country is experiencing, at least some parts of the country are experiencing some kind of trauma from the rhetoric and the actions of the current administration. Whether you're African American or LGBTQ plus, or wherever you are in your life, there's a potential for actually having to deal with a certain amount of trauma from this administration.
Yeah. And sorry. No, please.
I'm sorry. I was just curious, Fran, how you're dealing with the trauma.
It's been a little difficult. As I said, I'm in therapy, so that's really good. And that's helping a great deal. But it's like I told my therapist, there were times when Trump would sound off. It's like it's not making this easier.
I feel like everything he does is based on finding a way to rally his base and divide the country. I mean, I heard someone call him the divider in chief, and I think that is accurate. And whether you're on the right or the left, if you just look at his Twitter every day, and all this man does is name call and insult other people and try to get his base to stand up against this radical left socialism that's allegedly destroying our country. And I guess I don't get why people fall for this. Like, why?
Well,
if you support him for his policies, fine. But how do you get to this point where you think all the left is evil?
Yeah, I think part of it has, there's a couple of things going on. One, some people, conservatives, there have been studies, I guess, that, the brains of conservatives and liberals are a little different. And so conservatives are a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to say fearful, but they're more concerned about security. So anything that pushes the security buttons might be triggering for them, as well as Trump has got a lot of support from the evangelical right. And the problem with religion, in my view, is that, if you have to rely on faith and feelings instead of your thinking processes, you're going to fall for certain things. You're set up to be more gullible, I think.
Right. I know it sounds bad to say this, but at times I do have trouble trusting the judgment of people who use faith, because if they're not using their reasoning skills and they're using faith in one aspect of their life, what's to stop them from doing that in other aspects of their life? And I think this is where epistemology comes in. And it's funny, I almost embarrassed to admit this, I didn't know what it was until this year. And I feel the most important thing that I learned in 2020 is the most important question: how do you know what you know? Because I still find myself occasionally making bad arguments, or I'll say something and I'll be like, wait a second, like, where did I learn this from? Did I actually investigate this? Did I look further into it? Or am I just believing this because it's something I heard. And I would implore everybody, anytime you're going to make a statement or think about something, ask yourself how you know that. Look into it. See if you have a good reason to believe that.
Which is very good advice. So yeah, it's something I'm beginning to try to do. I'm a new atheist. I about 3 months ago left theism, so it's like I'm in the process of deconverting from that too.
Congratulations.
Yes, big. If we could,
Thank you.
everyone who's watching, put those hands together and let's welcome a new baby atheist to our world.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to thank Matt Dillahunty, because I was just out of curiosity watching the Atheist Experience one day. He was like, well, what the heck, you know? And because I like to learn new things.
Right.
And he said, oh, I just don't see any evidence for a God. And it's like, damn, neither do I.
That's kind of what happened with me too. Listening to the Atheist Experience is what got me away from believing. But as I've said in the past, I'm one of the lucky ones. I was able to drop my beliefs off fairly quickly when I realized the mistakes I was making. What about you? Was it difficult for you to let that go?
Yes and no. Certain aspects, yes. I think when I was younger, I was more of an agnostic, and then because of an experience, I became more theistic.
Okay.
But I kept searching, and I went to different religions, and it's like, you know, it's just not working. And actually, reasoning is actually working much better for me than believing in a deity, and I'm spending more time learning new things as opposed to trying to keep up the belief in the deity. I don't have to work at it so much. But there's some aspects that are tough, like, you know, the idea of no afterlife, things like that.
That can be difficult to come to terms with. I know it was for me at first, because I have this obsession with learning, and I hate the idea that I'm going to die without knowing everything. Like, I want all the answers before I die for everything, and it sucks.
I know that. I agree with you. That's my reason I want to live to be 120, because I have to see how it ends.
So, jumping back around to politics, have you ever found yourself, like, what do you do when you get frustrated in a heated political discussion? How do you handle it?
It's really tough. I try to keep in mind, even though it can be triggering, I try to keep in mind that just to be charitable to the other person, that we all are trying to kind of promote the truth, or develop, you know, hopefully develop a conversation instead of just talking at each other. But, you know, that we all kind of represent what we consider to be the truth in a situation. And so I try to be charitable about that and give them credit for that.
So how is that being a new atheist during an election year such as this?
Yes.
Yeah, well, part of it is some of the people said that they're in the blood of Jesus and all of that. It's like, and they're protected. It's like that helped too. You know, Matt just put me over the edge, but you know, I was just thinking, oh, this is like a bunch of crap.
Do you see people following suit all around you, left and right, or do you think that this is kind of all happening behind closed doors?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to mute between. I'm just curious if you think that from what you've seen and who you've talked to and just kind of your own environment, if this is something that you've been seeing happening all around you because of the political climate and everything, or if you think that this is, from what you've seen, it's just kind of personal and everybody's kind of keeping it to themselves if it's happening.
It's more national news. I work for a university, and so we're very research oriented there. So there's not a lot of anti-maskers that are on, you know, working at the university, and the university has really strict guidelines of wearing masks. So I don't see it there so much. So it's basically the national news that I saw that in.
Okay. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to figure out what it's like, because I'm trying to make sure that we're not in our own echo chamber, just realizing how easy that is to do when you agree with people,
I'll say I unfortunately noticed that the other day. If you go back, okay, so looking back in January and February, I desperately, more than anything, wanted atheist friends. I was like, I need people who share my opinion to talk to, because I felt alone. Like the majority of my Facebook friends, family, everyone's Christian and Republican. I'm like, this, I have no one to talk to. Fast forward, next thing I know, I build this small community of atheists, and now I'm loaded with atheist friends, which I love. But it's also not something I love, because now I'm like, wait, a lot of these people agree with me. I'm like, I have just created my own echo chamber. I need to find people now who disagree with me, to challenge me on these topics, or to put me in my place if I ever get out of line. Because in the past couple of weeks, I actually made the mistake of straw manning the Republican Party and Christians several times. And fortunately, I did have a Christian friend that called me out on it. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, right? I shouldn't have done that. It was irresponsible. But
Well,
Yeah,
we
I,
could also
I
be.
hear you, but I think that's where the internet and news outlets like I get like the New Yorker, things like that, and New York magazine. So that helps give you like what other people are saying. If you don't know anybody personally or that many, that much personally.
right.
But what I like to do is, I don't know if it's street epistemology, but when somebody has a disagreement with me, I like to ask them, well, how are you reaching that conclusion? I really want to know. 'Cause I'm willing to change my opinion on things if there's a really good reason to do so.
Well, as long as we just make sure that we keep questioning each other, right? Like, for example, when we do a stream like this, when we say things like conservatives this, liberals that, when we put things into a black and white language of ourselves, then I think it is good to try to kind of stop ourselves and remind ourselves that everything isn't black and white. We aren't broken down into just liberals and conservatives.
Nope.
We're not just left and right. We're not just religious and not religious. So to just kind of remind ourselves that there's just so many different
Absolutely.
ways. Yeah, I think but just to kind of point that out, and that's something that we can do to keep ourselves from building our own echo chambers.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's if you I think what people don't realize is that if you actually sit down with people who disagree with you or are politically on the opposite side of the spectrum, you'll find there are a lot more you have in common than you realize. But again, this is where it goes back to the media being a problem. It paints these pictures of these two extremes, and everyone buys into it rather than just talking to the other person and finding out where they believe, because a lot of us stand by the same beliefs. Republicans, Democrats, we both want freedom. We both want our basic human rights. I just think at times, although I'm painting with a broad brush here more than I should, at times I think Republicans don't actually understand what real freedoms are. They want
Yeah,
to dictate what freedom is. They want
You
to
can
tell.
speak for yourself. You can say, as a Republican, I used to want this, because I can say that I did. As a Republican, I didn't understand how my rights were being in any way violated. I couldn't see it. I didn't understand it. So you can speak. We can all speak for ourselves, and I think that's fair.
Right, and it goes
Yeah.
into, like, for instance, the flag. I remember getting, upset over people kneeling over the flag and thinking, "Oh, they shouldn't have a right to do that." It's like, come on, like, that is freedom at its finest, being able to kneel if necessary. Like, while I would never step on or burn a flag, I'm sorry, if somebody does that, that is still an expression of freedom, and just because it hurts your feelings doesn't mean you get to restrict them from doing it.
yeah. There's such a thing as civil disobedience, and even though kneeling at a flag really isn't against the law, people were acting like it was, and Yeah, I agree with you.
Um,
Look at that. We built our own echo chamber.
Yeah, I know.
For those watching, we do still have open lines if you want to give us a call and talk mental health and politics.
Okay. So I'll move on so other people can call in. But thank you for taking my call, and I hope you have a good day.
You
Thanks
too.
for
Thanks for
calling
tuning in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.